I'm Mayor Barbara McMorrow, and on behalf of Deputy Mayor Lester Preston and Committeeman Anthony Amiano, Tom Cook, and David Salkin, I welcome you to From the Mayor's Desk. We have a very important guest with us today, a very gracious woman. You know her as the Lieutenant Governor, first Lieutenant Governor of the state of New Jersey. We're so proud to have her here with us again. So for those of you who are saying, wait a minute, didn't I just see her in a show earlier in the year? You did. Kim was kind enough to be with us on our first show. She is the president of 200 Club, and we talked about that.
We did.
Very worthy cause. Today, Kim Guadagno is with us as the president and CEO of FulFill. So before you say, wait a minute, FulFill, what is that and why should I watch? I guarantee you this is a show very, very important to all of us. In the end, you will find it fulfilling, and you will want to remember contact information that we give you. Don't worry about it. We're writing it down. We're going to have it on our show. You know how we usually put that up. We put the contact information up, and you'll have that as well. I'm hopeful at the end of the show you'll have more of an understanding about issues that really impact us all, could be impacting our neighbors we don't even know. So Kim, thank you again. I know your schedule is pretty much as busy as when you were Lieutenant Governor, and you always find time to come here. I appreciate it very much.
Barbara, you've been a fabulous mayor, and I'm so pleased that I could do the first and the last.
Yes.
It's really very kind of you to
Full
invite me
circle.
back.
Yeah.
It is. So.
You're so good. Well, public service has always been your mantra. It always has been.
And yours,
Yeah.
you know, and this is just, the 200 Club is fabulous. It's a pro-law enforcement group that we work with. It's a nonprofit. It was great to talk about them at the beginning of the year, but now I'm fully engaged in a new project.
FulFill. So, formerly the Food Bank of Monmouth and Ocean County.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you the question I hear from everybody.
Right.
Why did you change the name to FulFill?
Well, the name was changed really for one reason, and that is that we do so much more than food. Look, it's very important to feed our neighbors. 1 in 10 of us go to bed every night not knowing where our next meal is coming from. But it's more important in my mind to make sure those neighbors have the opportunity to get off the food bank line altogether. So we have provided a number of different services. We sign people up for SNAP, which are food stamps. We sign people up for insurance so they don't have to spend money for insurance. We run a culinary school. We run a backpack program for kids. We can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
We do a lot more than just deliver to 280 different pantries in Monmouth and Ocean County. So they wanted to capture that by calling it FulFill, formerly the Food Bank of Monmouth and Ocean County, because people need to know that we're a full service organization. I often say that if you're able-bodied and you're working hard and you're still on the food bank line in 5 years, then I'm not doing my job. My job is to put myself out of business and also to make sure that those that can and want to have the tools they need to get off the food bank line and become participating members and gainfully employed, basically.
And I know that you've been working very hard, and we talked a bit before the show. You serve how many people?
We have in Monmouth and Ocean County 136,000 food insecure individuals. 50. The worst part, you know, it's bad that adults are hungry, but it's completely unacceptable that 50,000 of that number are children.
Yeah.
In Monmouth and Ocean County, who would ever have thought?
Well, people don't. That's
No.
why what you do and what FulFill does is so important, because people think about hunger Thanksgiving and in December when we have the different holidays. We have Christmas, we have Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, we have all the different holidays, and then people are thinking about giving. But hunger doesn't take a holiday.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a vacation. So I know from my background when I was a high school principal that the summer months are terrible for children because they don't have the funded breakfast and lunch programs, and they don't have food.
No, and FulFill in the summer has a very active summer food feeding program through Monmouth and Ocean County, all over the county, 280 different sites. We provide food to kids during the summer. But Barbara, you mentioned something very interesting, and this is why I'm so committed to this. I was reminded that you're a principal. So you tell me, what do children act like if they're hungry?
Well, there certainly is a difference. Either they're so tired and so sleepy because they're hungry, and perhaps they didn't eat the night before either, so it's not only missing breakfast, but they maybe haven't eaten in a long time. So they fall asleep in class, not to be disruptive and not to be a problem, but they're hungry. Or they do act out because they're hungry. And hunger's a terrible thing, and unless you've experienced it, you don't understand what that does. You certainly don't learn. You certainly don't listen and hear what the teacher's saying, because really all you're thinking about is that you're so hungry. And it's really such a negative impact, and wonderful children who go without food in this day and age, in this country, really is just a shame, and that's why FulFill is doing so much. We talked earlier about food stock that we have here in Freehold Township.
Right.
The
This
crop
2
walk-
weeks from now.
Yes, the crop walk going on 2 weeks from now in the borough. So I want to also let the viewers know, if you give to one, you can give to many. So if you give to FulFill, and I know Kim will tell you about all the different organizations that receive food,
Right.
but you can also give to Food Stock, you can also give to the crop walk. You can give throughout the year, and we encourage you to do so. And some people will say, well, I don't have much money. If you give $5, it's $5 more than FulFill had before you gave the money. And if everyone gave whatever they could, it would be a wonderful world.
Well, we like to say that if you give, for every dollar you give, it equals 3 meals, because we can
Oh, that's good to know.
combine it all together and buy more food and distribute more food if we have to. So we have the power of bargaining with a large number of people. So we put it all into one pool of money, and then we go out and purchase food that people need in order to survive. And the other thing is then, the interesting part about FulFill, unlike many 501c3s, 96 cents of every dollar you give goes directly back to the people that we serve. So the people we serve, quite frankly, are your neighbors. When you think of the number 136,000, that is about 1 in 10 of every person you see on the street. So you go into the grocery store, and 1 in 10 of those people are buying on a very limited budget. They may be buying on food stamps and you don't know it, or they may be supplementing their food with food that we distribute out to any one of our local pantries or soup kitchens.
How do people qualify? If someone's watching and saying, I could use help, I don't know how to do that.
Well, the first thing is ask for it, right? You can go online and find out where the closest pantry is. It's fulfillnj.org, and I'm sure you'll put it up. Just ask for it, because people are afraid to go to food pantries because they're ashamed.
Yes.
We try to make the food pantries as stigma-free as possible, as private as possible. And in New Jersey, it's called a self-designation state. If you say you're hungry, you get food. And that's it. You just have
Really?
to show where you live, so that believe it or not, some people will go from pantry to pantry to pantry. You just have to say where you live. We don't check. You just say, my name is John Smith, and I live in Freehold on this street, and that's it.
And you get food.
You can walk right into a food bank, and some of our food banks are choices, meaning you get a basket, and you literally go up and down the rows
shopping.
and pick what you need for your families.
Yeah.
Or some or food soup kitchens. We have quite a few soup kitchens that we also serve. So it's really very easy. If you're hungry, you get fed. So Monmouth University. People say, oh, the kids can afford to go to Monmouth University. Sure, they can afford to go to Monmouth University. They just can't afford to eat once they pay the tuition bill. And so last month we opened up a pantry at Monmouth University, and we served 94 kids in 40 minutes, fresh food and vegetables. And it's fresh. It's not lobster and filet mignon. These kids are picking up yogurt, power bars, salads, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, things that they couldn't otherwise get in a grocery store because they don't have the money.
That's right.
And also it's just opened up at Brookdale.
Really?
So you would think Monmouth University, because they could afford a food program, they can't, especially if they're commuters. And if there's a problem at Monmouth University, then there's got to be a similar problem at Brookdale. So we had 100 kids go through the line in 90 minutes and take a total of 3,000 pounds of food at Brookdale. And it's sad in many different ways, but because we're able to do these pantries, literally drive right up and set the tables up and hand out the food, and go away after that. And the numbers that are coming, the stigma is almost gone. There shouldn't be any stigma attached to admitting that you're hungry and you have a chance for fresh, nutritious
Healthy food.
Yep, it's very nutritious.
Because healthy is always more expensive, it seems to me.
Right.
That the fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, salads are
Well,
always
and
more
meats,
expensive.
it's very expensive.
Yeah.
But we just passed the Rosh Hashanah holidays, and I'm new to this food banking business, so I've been talking to the people who come into the warehouse. We move about 1 million pounds of food out of that warehouse in Neptune every month. We have another warehouse down in Toms River, and I just asked them, how are we doing? And a woman came in and said, we don't have any kosher protein
I wouldn't think of that.
at Rosh Hashanah. And no, I would not have either had, but I'm a Roman Catholic Irish person, so it's for the Orthodox Jewish community to not have kosher protein at Rosh Hashanah. It's kind of like me not having a ham at Easter, or you not having a turkey at Thanksgiving. So we were able to go out and find a philanthropic funder to purchase literally $10,000 worth of protein at Rosh Hashanah, and we served all of it.
It all went.
All went completely, and the people that were there serving, and some of the people that are listening now may have been there and served kosher protein for their kids at their high holy days. It was heart-wrenching to hear the stories about how they had never had at their pantries kosher food, kosher protein, chicken, at their high holy day. So it's very satisfying from my point of view.
Yeah.
It's nice that I have those connections. You have the same kind of thing,
Right.
You can pick up the phone. It's this I
Right.
got a guy syndrome, right? I know someone who can help, and that's the most satisfying part of my job. But to see it actually serve, in this case, 2,500 children, made the whole week worthwhile. As bad as politics can be, and we know that,
Yes.
is as good as this job is, because every day you're helping someone.
What about if people want to drive down to the food bank and donate food itself?
Drive up
Can
to the
they
back
do
door.
that?
Drive into the back door any time of day or night. If we're not open for some reason, like the weekends, we're often open on the weekends now, but if we're not open, there's a shed in the back you can drive right up to and put the food right in the shed, and we'll take care of it on Monday morning. Or you can drive, there's an agency door between 8 and 4:30, you can just walk. Like yesterday, a woman came to the front door, she said, where can I drop off my box of food? She had a nice box of food. I said, just drive around the back. We picked it up in the back, we'll put it in a bin for donations, and our volunteers will make sure that it's safe to eat, and they'll make sure it gets to where it's needed the most.
Oh, good point. Don't give anything beyond the expiration date. That's something they should check.
Well,
They should check.
They should
If they-
check the
yeah.
expiration date, but if you give us something beyond the expiration date, there's a well-known, or not a well-kept secret, that the food is good for a number of different uses after that. So
Yeah.
some of the food you have to throw away right away, and we'll check.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it, we'll do it for you, our volunteers
Yeah.
sort it, if you will. But some food lasts forever. I have quite a few pallets of whole wheat pasta that, the things you learn doing this job,
Yeah, and
that lasts 30 years.
Really?
So if you want whole wheat pasta, I'm happy to give you a
Yeah.
pallet full if you want, Barbara. And we'll cook for the whole week, all of Freehold next
Yeah.
week, because it lasts literally for 30 years. So we'll pick through that. If you think your food needs to be tossed, and it's obvious, if it's yogurt, you probably have to toss it. If it's fresh fruit, you probably have to toss it. It gets fuzzy, don't even bother.
Right.
But canned food, even canned food that has a small ding in it, let us make that decision. Give it to
okay.
us, and we'll make that decision. We never distribute any food that's unsafe.
Yeah.
We just can't. We toss it.
But that's good to know.
yeah.
It's also good. Sometimes we go into the warehouse, the Sam's, the Costco's, the BJ's, all those. And it's easy sometimes to just buy, they have a can of soups or a can of green beans or whatever. And while you're buying the things that you need or that you want and really don't need, you can, which always happens.
Always
in those
happens
stores.
to me at Costco.
So why don't you get a carton and take it down to the food bank and drop it off?
It really
And
doesn't
makes
cost
a
that
difference.
much.
Yeah, and it's just really a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted you to talk about a number of things. That's why I have my notes. The viewers know I always have my notes. The seafood gleaning
Love this
program, I understand it's the first in the nation.
Yeah.
What is it? The seafood gleaning program?
So I mentioned protein a minute ago.
Mhm.
Protein is another nice way of saying chicken or something really good to eat. It's very hard to come by, very expensive. And when we put it up on our shopping list that distributes out to the pantries, it goes like that, it goes fast. So we were trying to find another source of protein. And we went to the commercial fishermen and we worked with a group called American Gleaned Seafood and a processing plant called Trinity out of Lakewood. And we said, well, the commercial fishermen, don't you throw away a lot of your fish because they're either fishing for the wrong kind or it's the wrong size or it's not what they're looking for today. And they do. And they call it
I didn't know
bycatch.
that.
Yeah, they call it bycatch. So they toss it back in the ocean. And environmentally, that's okay because other fish eat it. But really, the best thing to do with it is to bring it back and let us repurpose it. So you've heard of farming gleaning, right?
Yes.
So everybody has a little extra tomatoes over at the
Right.
end, and they turn it over the food bank. That's food gleaning. We do seafood gleaning now, first of its kind in the country. We've a relationship with this commercial fisherman in Point Pleasant. When they come off the boats and they have fish that they don't want to try to sell, they'll throw it in a freezer at the end of the dock. It's a big blue box. Trinity Seafood will then pick up that box and process it at their plant like they would any other kind of fish, exactly the same way as any other kind of fish. And we, the food bank, will come, FulFill, will come and pick it up, bring it back to our warehouse, put a recipe on it because people don't know how to cook fish,
That's true.
and then give it out to pantries. So it's a new source of protein
Wow.
that doesn't cost it costs very little, and it's going to be tossed anyway. So instead of throwing it in the dumpster, they give it to us, and we
How has
give
that
it
been going?
Oh, it's fabulous. We wanted to make sure people would use it, so we took it to St. Mark's in Keensburg, and St. Mark's made a fabulous Italian soup out of the fish. It went right
In a moment.
immediately, and we've gotten calls from St. Mark's, where's the rest? When's the
Really?
next shipment coming? And so we've got hundreds of pounds coming in, and we're gonna expand it as soon as we get some more money, because we do have to process it properly, and
Yes.
Trinity does,
There's a cost.
they are very generous, but they can't be that generous.
Right.
And they box it up for us, label it appropriately from federal regulations, and give it to us to put a recipe on so people will cook it. But it does have a cost. So as soon as Tyson's Food has already been generous with a $50,000 grant, and we're now out fundraising to take it to the next level. Maybe move down to another commercial fishing port. Many people don't know. From my prior life, I learned this. Commercial fishing is we in New Jersey are one of the largest commercial fisheries in the country. And it's also maybe
know
the
that.
third or fourth largest employer in the country, in New Jersey, most profitable. So we have a lot of seafood coming in, and a lot of that gets tossed. And it's just a waste. So the story that I heard when we got started with this is that right around Thanksgiving, where people are buying turkeys,
Right.
somebody brought in a large load of tuna, and they tossed it because people were buying turkeys, not tuna.
Oh,
And to me, that
wow.
tells you everything you need to know about this program. That fish could have been completely repurposed and given out to people that wouldn't otherwise get any protein at Thanksgiving. There's a lot of turkeys distributed at Thanksgiving, never enough, but this is going to fill a gap. Very exciting program because it is the first of its kind anywhere in the country.
And you know what, until we spoke, I didn't even know about it, and I really pride myself on reading all the time to find out what's going on, in the county, in the state, in the nation. So,
It's just getting started. You're right
Yeah.
here in the ground floor. Literally had our first delivery in August, and then you have to, they don't catch every day. They don't have extra fish every day, and sometimes the fishermen can't go out. So this week, I think we're picking up calamari. Yes.
just tell me where that's being served.
I'm not. I will get you an invitation to the food kitchen, the soup kitchen, where we will be serving calamari.
That's
fun.
nice.
It is. It's nice, and it's food that they would toss. That's the best part about it.
Yeah,
No,
and it's something different from
Yeah.
what they usually get.
Right.
So,
Yep.
because food banks usually have the same
Well,
item.
recently
But you've
it's a lot of pork.
You've been, yeah.
And people don't eat pork, so.
Yeah.
And we don't get a choice. Food banks, it's kind of interesting, the sources of food we get. We get government, federal food, we get state food, we get Feeding America food, we get donated food. But when we get government food, we don't get to choose what we want. We get what we get and we don't get upset. And sometimes we get something really nice, and sometimes we get a whole warehouse full of pork. And right now I have a whole warehouse full of pork.
To go with the whole wheat pasta.
Yeah, so, but, you know, it's
But
the
you use
life,
it.
you figure it out, or you purchase with some of the donations food that people will eat. You know, we get some hams, or we're purchasing a lot of turkeys this time of year, as you can guess.
Well, so that's a good point,
Mhm.
because you're talking about the fact that you get food, but the money is used, that's donated for buying what else you need to supplement. You
So-
couldn't exist just on the food that's
Oh
donated.
my goodness, no.
Yeah.
Oh no, the donated food would never be enough, and we do a lot of other things with the money. So let's say you're a food pantry, but the food pantry doesn't have a refrigerator that works. Well, if you don't have a refrigerator that works, you can't keep fresh vegetables, you can't keep fresh eggs, you can't keep fresh meat. So sometimes we'll give out grants to those food pantries so that they can buy
That's
freezers,
wonderful.
those kinds of things, yeah. Yeah, it's fabulous.
There's so much.
And to see what these food pantries and soup kitchens do on a shoestring,
Yeah.
almost all of them are entirely volunteer, is an amazing act of kindness and generosity from them. It's heartwarming to see them put their lives into this, and they can stand a food pantry up in a place the size of this stage right here, and feed people, and we'll engage them and provide them with the food they need. It's fun.
So that brings me to your mobile
Ah,
food pantry,
yes,
which is wonderful. That just rolled out, if I may say.
it
This
did.
year.
It's good. Here in Freehold.
Yes, so maybe we could tell the viewers about that.
Well, you here in Freehold renovated, I think it was an old Acme. It was
It
old-
was a food tent.
Food
It
tent.
was a food tent.
So they renovated it into a clinic. It's a federally qualified healthcare center, which is supported by the entire community here. Once they had it stood up and running, and it was a full-fledged clinic, they called us and said, well, after the clinic is finished, why not provide fresh vegetables for these families that we're serving? So we have women on Wednesdays. The women come in with their kids on Wednesdays and see the clinic with their kids. And then when they walk out of the clinic, they'll come to one of our pantries where they can pick up fresh food and vegetables. We started out about a month ago with maybe 10 people showing up. And the last pantry we had 100 people in line
Oh,
before
right.
12 o'clock. My staff was having a heart attack. I was like, we can't do this. I said, oh, yes, you can, and what a good problem to have.
Yes.
That means the community has embraced the program, and hopefully we'll have 500 people the next time.
Yeah.
So, and because we're flexible with these vans, we can fill the van up with any kind of food that's appropriate for the area we serve. So here we serve a lot of Hispanics, and so we can fill it up with lots of Hispanic, culturally appropriate food. Or if I was to go to another community where we needed Orthodox or kosher food, we can fill the van up with kosher food and deliver it to those communities that need it the most. So it's incredibly flexible, and now I'm finding it's incredibly needed.
Yeah. You know, as I'm listening to you about the different types of food, many of our viewers and family members have health problems. You talked about the health center and diabetes, for example,
Right.
that sort of thing. And part of the problem is because the food that they do have is not great for,
Well, if you have $1 in your pocket, you go to McDonald's
yeah,
if you're hungry.
yeah.
Hopefully they'll start coming to, now we are, our warehouse is evaluated nutritionally. I have a nutritionist on staff, and we will not accept junk food. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, we don't accept junk food, unless it gets donated by accident. So if there's Coca-Cola in our warehouse, it's because it was donated. But usually we don't get Coca-Cola. We'll get Vita Water, and we'll keep the Vita Water, but we're very careful to make sure that our nutritional value overall in the warehouse, it maintains the highest of all levels, and we're very proud of that. And we work very hard. I mean, there's oftentimes our nutritionist, Erin Leo, is out in the warehouse looking at the labels to make sure there's not too much sodium, there's not too much sugar.
Really?
And I have turned away donations of very high in sugar content, because I don't want to give it to your kids. How do kids act if they have too much sugar?
Right, well, then they're not sitting still for sure.
Right, you're right. So
Absolutely.
we'll give them nice vitamin water, we'll give them milk, we'll give them shelf-stable milk, we'll give them chocolate milk, but we stay away from the 100% sugar.
So there's a lot that goes into what you give out.
Oh, yeah, so
It just doesn't come in and go out. You really check everything over
everything
before it
gets
goes
received in, evaluated, and then before it goes out, each one of the 280 pantries get to go shopping. We post online what we have in the warehouse, and they'll go through in real time and pick, do I need milk this week? Do I need eggs this week? Or maybe, in my warehouse right now, I have a lot of pork, so they'll take what pork they can. And also, I have pallets of peanut butter. People like peanut butter, and today we'll have pallets of peanut butter. So on the shopping list they get electronically, they'll ask us for pallet after pallet of peanut butter, and they'll just
I
shop
wondered
for it.
how you knew what they needed.
It's all, well, as many people as possible are on the shopping list called Oasis, so that we can manage that, avoid duplication, service everybody equally. So we have a finite number of turkeys, right? So what happens when you have a finite number of turkeys? Well, you go to each one of the pantries, figure out how many families they serve, and give them that appropriate number of pantries, of turkeys. We try to avoid duplication, so if there's one pantry next to another pantry, those two pantries talk to make sure they're not getting 2 turkeys when we have a limited number of turkeys, that kind of thing. They work very hard. It's very complicated and interesting and challenging, and the best part about it is it's so well-meaning. Everybody has, the people that I work with, the people in this food banking area, all have one goal.
To feed the hungry.
Is to feed the hungry. And it crosses borders.
Yes.
On every level, on political level, on gender, on culture, on every level,
Geographical,
everything. It causes, hunger has no, or it has every face.
Right.
I was gonna say it has no face, but it has every face.
It does.
And it brings us all together in that way.
Because it can be a young child, it can be a senior citizen, it can be anybody.
A veteran, a student.
Yes.
There is no border.
No, there's not one person you can say, well, that's the person. It can be anyone, as I said at the top of the show, it can be your neighbor and you don't even know it because people don't talk about it. They're very ashamed to say they don't have food.
Right.
And that in itself is a shame.
Well, and we're trying to make it as dignified as possible. We try to make it as accessible as possible. We try to bring the food to them. That's the pantry that we're doing here in Freehold, one of the many. And we try to let
You do it for the
know.
children on Fridays.
On Fridays is fun. So we do what's called a backpack program. The kids get, hungry kids get food in the morning through a Breakfast at the Bell program. They get government lunches. You might have heard some of that in the news lately. But what happens after hours, or what happens on the weekends? Well, we provide what we call backpacks. So we pack a big baggie full of food, so some cereal and some stable milk and some spaghetti or something that they can open on the weekends and eat on the weekends, enough for 2 days, Saturdays and Sundays, and we sneak it into their backpack so nobody knows at the end of the day, which is as stigma-free as you could possibly get.
So they keep their pride.
Right.
It's just wonderful. It
Right.
really is.
And so more people are willing to admit it. Right,
Yes.
so more people are willing to come forward if they need it. And a lot of people that are listening right now, it's not uncommon to be one paycheck away from losing your house.
Well, and that was something else we had discussed earlier, that you can be doing okay, your budget is what it is, and you're getting food in the house, and then a medical issue arises, or the car breaks down, or something happens, and all of a sudden, something has to go, and what goes usually is the food, because the bills have to be paid, and that's what happened. And then you mentioned to me, which it just touched my heart, that very often when that happens, the parents go without the food so the children can eat when there's just not enough.
Especially towards the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we want to see those parents. We want those parents to literally go online, fulfillnj.org. And if you don't want to go in your own town because you're afraid of seeing somebody you might know, either on the line or in the area, then go to another pantry. Go to a pantry.
Well, that's a great
Yeah,
point.
oh, there's pantries everywhere. So let's say you have a car, you're taking a drive, and you don't wanna be in your neighborhood. There's pantries all over Monmouth and Ocean County. I mean, Toms River alone, there's 15 pantries.
So you have the Beet Center.
Yes.
And Beet, B-E-A-T, Center, I didn't want them to think it was like in the vegetable, B-E-E-T.
No.
So, the Beet Center in Toms River. What is that?
Well, it's called Be Everything. It's Be Everything All Together. It came out of Sandy. After Sandy took out most of us, quite frankly, right? But Ocean County hit particularly hard. Everybody was trying to help, and the Beat Center was an outgrowth of that. It's a 3-way partnership. There's a pantry called the People's Pantry, where you can shop for goods or for food, and in the middle is us. We have a warehouse, a culinary school, and a resource center to sign you up for SNAP or insurance benefits or find you housing or services.
And you do all that, let's just
Oh, yeah.
mention that, because the food bank is more than just food. So you do all of that, and if people want to know about the things that you just mentioned.
Right. Just go on fulfillnj.org or walk into any, we're in Neptune. You can walk into Neptune. We post where we're gonna be, so sometimes we're at, sometimes we're at the mall here in Freehold, or sometimes we're at Monmouth Mall. From January to April, we'll do your tax returns for free. So most people who are what we call the working poor pay taxes, but don't have to. So they need to file their tax returns, and many don't, or many can't. For whatever reason, they're complicated. 1040s are complicated documents. So we have 80 volunteers who go out between January and April and file tax returns for people in the language that they speak. So 4,700 tax returns last year, $6 million in refunds.
Really?
And that's more money in their pocket. We also provide financial service advice to people so that when they get those refunds, they use them in the wisest possible way. So it's really
See,
kind
now, I don't think anybody, well, obviously the people who used it know, but there have to be so many more people out there among our viewers who would never think to go to the food bank, FulFill, which is why you see it's more than just food, for their taxes, for financial advice. There was one other thing, housing, I think you said.
Housing, financial advice, or anything that you need to know about services that will get you off the line. The idea is, okay, we'll give you the food you need so you can pay more for your housing, or we'll get you the housing you need so you can pay more for your food. Shortens the line either way you look at it, and anything in that area we try to do. And the new thing we're about to kick off, because you have all these 80 volunteers that can do tax returns. In other words, they can do numbers, they can add and subtract. Now I know you can do that. I'm not so sure I can do that. But they are going to start in the fall doing financial aid forms for kids who want to go to college.
Really?
Now, how complicated are those forms?
Awful.
They're impossible. And if we're saying they're impossible,
Yes.
imagine a person who's, working all the time, doesn't file their tax returns. Well, we hope to take those same group of people that help them file their tax returns, and in the fall help them file their financial aid forms, help them complete them so that they can get any resources that are available to their kids when they go to college. Yeah,
Wow.
fun. It's great stuff.
It is, and it's wonderful. It
Yeah.
really is. And I know there were more things we wanted to talk about, but we are at the end of the.
That went
At the end
fast.
of the, isn't it? I
Yeah,
know,
that
I
did.
know. Maybe, you know what, just quickly, because there's one thing here I just want to talk about. The Jersey Strong had a Top Golf event. Let's just talk about that before
So
we
they're
close
wonderful
the
people.
show.
So the Jersey Strong is a gym, if you don't know, but they're all over the place, and you see their signs everywhere. But Jersey Strong has been a partner of ours for 7 years. And it used to be they did an outing, a golf outing, and raised money with their gym people, the guys that go to the gym. I don't do that too much anymore, but maybe I will. But this year they did Top Golf, and Top Golf in Edison, all the proceeds went to us at FulFill, and this 7th year they hit the 1 million meals mark, which means they raised for us $330,000 through this golf project. And that translates into 1 million meals. And so the Jersey Strong family, the Romas, are fabulous people. They've been giving back to us and to the community for years. And if you stop into Jersey Strong, just say thank you for feeding, giving 1 million meals to our neighbors right here in Monmouth and Ocean County. What a great story.
But that could also give people ideas who are reviewing our show, that perhaps they have a business that could do something like that, an
Anybody can
organization
give. We
that
have,
could do something like that.
we've had something as small as lemonade stands on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Kids donate, I have a kid in my town, in Monmouth Beach, the 3rd grade donates 2 hours of their time every Saturday. They raise $1,500 this summer. And you say, well, that's not enough. I said, well, $1,500 is, times 3. It's a lot of money, and it will feed a lot of people. And that was the 3rd graders. So anybody can, regularly people walk in and say, oh, we had a food drive for you this weekend. Here's the cash and here's the food. And we didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
And
It's
so you're
really
located?
fun. So we're Route 3300 Route 66 in Neptune. It's a silo. It looks like a barn, and there's a sign that just says "FulFill the Food Bank." And then we also have on Hooper Avenue in Toms River, the Beat Center altogether. The fun part about the Beat Center is you can go shopping at the food bank, stop and get the resources you need, and then have a nice lunch at Bon Jovi Soul Kitchen.
That's right.
It's a nice combination, the 3 together. You can get all the resources you need, and then relax a little bit at the Bon Jovi Soul Kitchen. And
That's nice.
also, if you volunteer at a food bank, and this is what Dorothea Bon Jovi pointed out to me yesterday when she came to talk to our group. If you volunteer at any of the food banks, you can get a dining certificate to go eat at the Bon Jovi Soul Kitchen for free. And that works also in Red Bank. So it works Red Bank and in Toms River. So, and that I didn't know.
That's an incentive.
Yeah, shame on me for not knowing that, but it is. It's not just the people that come into the food bank who can volunteer to pay for their meal, or it's for those that actually volunteer in the food bank to help others that can go, excuse me, and get a meal.
So people, you can also volunteer. So one of the things, you can volunteer, but also for a donation. You can think about, instead of a present, donate to FulFill. So a birthday's coming, anniversary's coming, you have so much stuff, then donate to FulFill. I know that many of my friends, as I did, are downsizing, and so you don't need more things, but people need food. So when an event comes up, think about fulfilling someone else's wish to not be hungry. Hunger is a terrible thing, and you can do something about it. I want to thank our president, our CEO of FulFill. I want to you have a second act that is so incredible. I thought being the first lieutenant governor would be a hard act to follow. And I have to tell you, Kim, you are just an amazing person.
You're sweet. Stop.
And you are. I'm very proud.
Everybody can give.
Well,
Everybody can serve.
I'm proud to call you my friend, and I hope that people realize that they can be a part of what you're doing, and you're the right person for this, because look at all the things. I'm excited about it. I hope our viewers are too. So don't forget, give what you can, whether it's time, it's food, or it's money. It's all graciously accepted, and we thank you so much. We thank you, and we thank our viewers. So until next time, this is Mayor Barbara McMorrow saying, stay safe and be well.